in terms of price action, we still got to figure that out, right? But let's go ahead and do that right now since we have time here. So this is the breakdown, okay? So first off, what do we see here with the monthly? Okay, I mean, the monthly is straightforward. We repeat the same thing on the monthly every single day because it's the entire month that we're breaking down. So it's the same breakdown throughout the month for the most part. Oh shit, wrong keyboard. All right, so if you take a look at price here, you're gonna see that this is currently where we are sitting, chat. Let me just make sure chat's good. Okay, yeah, we're good. So this is like where we're sitting at, right? In this range, in this yellow box here. So what it looks like, and what it looks like isn't off of what I woke up and thought about today. It's what price prints on a highly frequent basis. It looks like we have a monthly wick fill for the most part. So like off of what we're seeing, right, we're expecting that the overall monthly should technically continue driving up to fill the wick. Now, the only issue with this is the bottom wick. Where is the bottom wick going to be before popping up towards the top of the range, right? So in this case here, there's levels and past data that we can use in our favor. And, you know, you watching us, knowing how we trade, looking at the previous candle low, there's no bottom wicks, or the two previous candle lows, there's no bottom wicks, which means that I would believe that there would be a if there were to be a bottom wick on the monthly before coming up to fill that wick fill, you need to see a bottom wick. And if the previous monthly has no bottom wick, that is likely where it could be at. So I'm talking about this right here. There's no bottom wick there. I would assume that if price were to drive up towards the top of the range, you're gonna have to come down to create a bottom wick before doing so, which then would lead price to looking like this. Overall, that's what you're expecting. Now, the only issue with this is it gonna come down for a bottom wick, right? We're only going based off of what price usually prints. But 24 days left, chat, and so far, how have we opened up? So the first 5 days of the monthly, just think about it as it's just opened up. Really, like nothing much has happened. Only 5 days into the month. If it were to look like this, and by this I'm gonna break it down in a second, but if it were to look like this in about 10-15 days, and you have like 10 days, or you have like 15 days into the month, then, you know, you could say, okay, it looks like you may not come down for a bottom wick. And if you do come down for a bottom wick, there's a higher chance you would have closed bearish. But off of what you're expecting, right, if it's like half of the month into halfway to the month, you can easily just pop up without coming down for the bottom wick. And the reason being is because what happened so far the first 5 days here, what has happened? So I'm not sure if you guys remember, but from what I remember, price opened up here on May 1st, right, which is last Tuesday, last week. And then what did it do first? I'm pretty sure it came out first, came out towards here. And then the next day, what did you have? Or sorry, was it Tuesday? Let me see. It was, so Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday. It opened up on Wednesday. First thing they did was pop up FOMC, right? It popped up. It popped up very key. It popped up from here because this is where it opened up at, right? And it made a high here because that's where the high was at 1828. Actually, it wasn't 30. It was a little lower, 18 or 23.28. That's where it was, right? And then it came back down at some point. Came back down the very next day on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, the following day after FOMC, right? Still in the same range though. Hasn't broken below, hasn't broken above, right? It's still in the range. It's creating a range basically. And the very next day, the day after, on Friday, when we were in that trade, what did price do afterwards? It started coming down to retest the lows, right? And it broke the lows. It broke the lows by a little bit, and that's what created its bottom wick here. As it broke the lows, what happened afterwards? It ended up coming back up on Monday, which is yesterday, towards 23.30, right? And this is, and then now this is where price is sitting right now, right there. So what do you have so far on the monthly? What do you have here, chat? And if you're new to the streams, but this is about to be a mind fuck for you, learning experience. But what do you have right now, chat? You have a range, right? Am I live on Twitter, by the way? Let me just make sure. Okay, cool, I'm live. Yeah, so chat, like you have this right here, right? You have this right here. This resistance being formed and this support being formed, right? So How did I get this data off of this candle? Just by reverse engineering it. What happened on the monthly so far, right? So like this is what the structure reads now. So what this indicates, chat, what's next? You guys know this. You have first, you have a range, or you have continuation, range, liquidity, continuation, right? Spam the exclamation point DRL in the chat. So drive, range, liquidity, right? So you had the drive. Now you have a range. What's next? Liquidity. So if you're anticipating that you're going to come down for a bottom wick on the monthly, which happens to be the very next monthly candle low, or the previous candle low right here, is there a possibility as you come down, right? Because this is a range. What's next? Liquidity. As you come down in the range, right? Are you able to break through this time, create a bottom wick, and pop back into the range? That's what you're trying to figure out. Because if you come down for a bottom wick on the monthly, it's gonna look like this on the daily of the 4. Like this is like, I'm pretty sure a 4-hour structure by the looks of it, right? So this is how it's gonna look. 100%, it's gonna look like this if it were to come down for a bottom wick, right? But the question is, it gonna come down for a bottom wick? So like this is what we have right now so far. If we're in a range, we could break up to the upside first, right? We'll see on price anyways. If it does, then you could possibly fill the top wick. But I would likely need to see some type of structure being developed above this range for me to indicate that, okay, we're going to continue popping up. Otherwise, any given point, this can easily be a fake out, and you can easily pop back into the range and end up coming down, right? And if this were to happen, this will take a long time to play out. Likely, this will be like, remember what I said earlier about it'll be like probably 5/15. It'll be like May 15, and by May 15, by May 20th, if you haven't came down for a bottom wick yet, if you were to come down, there's a higher chance you are to break back into the range, because then you're creating structure as the days goes by, right? You're creating structure, which will print these ranges above the ranges, back into the ranges, fill the range. And by the time you come down, it's like what, May 15? At this point, it looks like you're going to flip for the monthly. And if you flip for the monthly, you're going to end up making your way down, right? So like what I would assume would happen here is you're going to continue to range. I could be wrong, right? I hope I'm wrong because I don't want to range, but I would assume that you're going to continue to range here, which is not bad because this range here is going to be like a range of 500 pips. You're chilling. 10 pips like in your sleeps, you're chilling, right? The hard part is obviously figuring out if it's going to come down now or come up to retest the highs, right? So that's what we're going to figure out. But like this is the monthly, chat. So far, this all we broke down today was a monthly, but understand the structure is very key because it helps you develop the overall idea of what price could print next. If you know it's drive, range, liquidity, you know right now you would, before getting direction, you are likely to wait for liquidity before getting that next direction. If you don't have that direction yet, then you can just trade the ranges. Open up your playbook that fits within the ranges. So with the monthly looking the way it is, dropping down to the weekly, the weekly last week closed bearish, right? So, and it's all about to make sense in a second here, but like the weekly, if you look at it, there's a support right here that was being formed that I was hoping you would respect last week. You didn't. You ended up closing below the range because I would have assumed that this would have happened last week. Came down for a bottom wick, a flip bullish for us to continue out for the monthly wick fill, but that hasn't happened yet. You are below the range, yes, right? But I would believe that if you were to rip down towards the next support, which happens to be like in these ranges here, you're gonna need to grab liquidity, and who knows where that could be. Off of what I'm looking at, I would have assumed that minimum would have been here, right? That's what I was assuming at first glance. Now, if price were to flip bearish, there's a possibility you may not get liquidity there, but what you may have, because if price were to flip bearish, then you're gonna end up filling the wick down. And if you fill the wick down, these candles that are creating top wicks, it's just creating structure. So as you create structure on your way down, liquidity could end up being like just this instead, for all I know, right? But we don't have that being formed yet, so we don't gotta worry about that just yet. But there is still a chance this can happen for a top wick here. So I wouldn't hold out and say the